version of the Field of 68's Best Bets program. We are your hosts, Three Man Weave. We are, of course, sponsored by our lovely pals at BetRivers. Speaking of which, if you are betting on BetRivers, make sure you use their Parlay Boost. College basketball Parlay Boost. It goes through at least the end of the year. Got to be at least 4 legs. But hey, we like getting a couple extra payout bumps on those parlays. Fellas, we had a big night last night of hoops. Kai, what kind of takeaways did you have?
Texas Illinois game. First of all, guys, actually both my takeaways are Madison Square Garden games. Texas, what a collapse. Holy moly. Up 5 points with a minute to go. You allow a 3. Okay, no big deal. But then you foul egregiously, Matthew, a guy that's 50 feet from the basket, up 2 points with 8 seconds to go. Illinois hits both free throws, kills them in overtime. Not good late game execution for the Longhorns there. And then Duke. Impressed, Matt. I'm impressed by your Blue Devils. It was a good win. Iowa was cold for sure, but credit the Blue Devils. Way to get one back in the win column. Your non-alma mater, Matt, but your fanboyness.
Yeah, I think I just want to underscore me and Jim's takes of me feeling good about Duke, Jim feeling good about Wisconsin,
childhood
reiterating
gut,
the point. Right. Just follow one team, follow one conference. I promise you can make money just off that one team, one conference. If you know that team's ebbs and flows better than anyone else, I promise you'll know them better than any professional betting group out there. You can make money off one team, one conference. Think small, win big, Kai.
Yeah, I mean, look at our
profound intro from you.
Our big Temple fans. They are usually pretty dialed in when that team's going to play well and when they're going to lay a stinker. That was one of my best or one of my takeaways, Matt. Temple as well clinched a share of the Big Five championship for the first time since 2013. So shout out to the Owls. Well done there. And then I just got to admonish and give a little smack on the wrist to SLU, who got murdered by Iona. And guys, the A10, it has to be a big underdog to get an at-large bid right now. There are 0 A10 teams in the top 50 at KenPom. There are 0 in the top 70 of Bart Torvik's no priors measurements. The whole conference has been terrible. And we're going to talk about it more on our own podcast later today, but it is a bad league. Really disappointing for, we thought maybe they'd have a resurgent year. Not so much. All right, let's get into the outline. Let's start with the headliner tonight. UConn headed on the road to Florida, 2 teams that played out in Portland but did not play against each other. They looked very different out there too, Kai. UConn was dominant. Florida was shaky. They've blown out 2 teams a little bit shorthanded back in Gainesville since then, but clearly it seems like 2 teams going in different directions. We got UConn laying 4.5 on the road. Are you taking the home dog?
Ordinarily, I would say betting against road favorites against a competent, unranked home team is ill-advised, but this UConn team is an exception. They're nuts. It is the best team I've seen live. I think they're right behind Houston for best team in the country right now. And really, you could say they might be the best team. They have no weaknesses. They're the best team against the spread right now. They're 8-0. They have so much size up front to combat Castleton, Jatobo. There's going to be foul trouble on Florida's end. Defensively, Matt, they're just long. They're athletic everywhere. Florida has had fits scoring this year. They did against West Virginia, particularly, and they could again tonight against UConn. Kyle Lofton's status is in the air. Even if he's in, I'm leaning towards UConn here, despite it being their first true road game.
Yeah, I mean, Florida's got rotational issues, right? Lofton may not play tonight. They've got, there's been a lot made of like the Kawashi Reeves not playing as much. Turns out he wasn't injured. So there's a lot of what's going on with Florida right now. The transition defense against West Virginia was absolutely terrible. I know Golden's made some adjustments there. He's trying to re-emphasize that at the expense of the offensive glass. It's not exactly the type of home dog you want to back, just given what's transpiring underneath the surface, Jim, on top of the fact that UConn's look nothing short of dominant. However, I do lean Florida. That's just my old stupid against the grain contrarian self talking. And I think if it were to touch 5, I'm going to have to bet Florida small. So sorry.
Okay. Yeah. I think traditionally I would lean Florida as well. I'm with Kai, like, oh man, a little bit maybe overvalued UConn team. Florida needs that big win. They don't have one yet. I think the chat pointed that out. They're lacking that top of the line resume win, but UConn's just too good to me right now. I'm not going to fade Florida. I'm not going to just take the road favorite here, but it's enough for me to sit it out. Florida has had a little bit of bad shooting luck, especially defensively. They don't give up many threes, but people are making all of them, or at least they were for a while. It started to come down in their last 2 games against inferior competition. But on the other end, I don't think Florida can open up this UConn defense at all. If you can't spread them a little bit with shooting, good luck driving into Sonogo and Klingen and all the length that they have inside. That's definitely concerning. Bye, Matt. We'll catch you later.
I told him he should turn his TV off because I knew it was
TV was on. Sorry, we're good. We're back.
Professional.
Let's pivot to the Big Ten because I don't think there are any wagers coming from us in UConn at Florida. Michigan State at Penn State. Kai, you dug up some really good Tom Izzo quotes on this one.
Yeah,
they are on the road taking on the Nittany Lions, who are laying 3.5 here. I think no Malik Hall still for Michigan State. Akins is back, but still getting in game shape. Are you backing the Spartans on the road?
I'm not. It opened 4. It still is around 4, 3.5, which is nuts, ignoring injury trouble. And that's the main concern. Malik Hall being out for Michigan State has been a huge problem. They're 1-4 against the spread with him out. And that one win, Matt, was a squeaker against a decimated Oregon team in Portland. And Izzo, Jim, you mentioned the quotes. He literally said his team is dead right now.
Yeah.
They're dead tired. They are out of energy. Now, Izzo he tends to skew towards the pessimistic side of the scale. He's never really talking up his team a whole lot. Usually coach speak the negative way, but I'm not in a hurry to back this team if that's what he's saying. And now they're facing a really good Penn State team on the road. Matt, a Penn State team that's very well coached and a Penn State team that is weak inside, but won't be bludgeoned by Michigan State tonight. So I actually lean towards Penn State in this one, despite the number kind of not agreeing with what I would have it preseason or non-injury specific.
Yeah, I want to see how Penn State and I guess Iowa, to a lesser extent, after what we saw last night, do kind of beat them up inside. Big Ten is a bloodbath of bigs. And I think Penn State and Iowa have, obviously, they're like really good. We're all believers to a certain degree of those teams. But Big Ten is a different beast. And Michigan State historically would be a team I'd like to be backing in this spot, a team that can punish Penn State up front, which has really been a big concern for them. But we talked about it. It's just not the same Michigan State team this year. They're shorthanded. Decimated by injuries. A lot sets up for Penn State. I think the number is pretty high. If it was 3 or 2, I think I'd be more excited to jump in on Penn State. I just don't want to lay the hook or anything above that with the Nittanies.
Yeah, Michigan State, like we say decimated by injuries. There's only one guy out. But
yeah, that's true. Akins is a half percent or half speed right now or whatever. Yeah.
You only have 10 scholarship players. One of them was supposed to redshirt. Like that is not a deep team at all. And it's not just any player that's out. You can make an argument Hall is their best player. The on-off numbers for him are insane. It's like a 25-point gap per Hoop Explorer when he plays versus when he doesn't. They're bad when he plays, as Kai mentioned with the ATS splits. But it was even true when he was playing. They were a much better team when he was on the court. So I am not looking to back a team that their coach described as dead and is arguably missing their best player. And Penn State is competent and well coached, and Big Ten home court is pretty impressive. So you can talk yourself into a Penn State bet. I'm with Matt. I don't want to lay over 3. But if it hits 3, I would certainly consider it. Also have a bit of an underlean. I think Michigan State needs to slow things down. Penn State will be a willing participant in that. You just have to fear a little bit of efficiency in that front. All right, let's go out to Blacksburg, Matthew. Virginia Tech hosting Dayton. This number has come down. People are betting the Flyers despite the injuries that they have to Malachi Smith and Kobe Elvis. There's a little bit of a revenge angle to this one with Virginia Tech losing at Dayton last year. Are you doing anything with this number? It's a Virginia Tech -7 per BetRivers right now.
No, I can certainly understand people wanting to fade Dayton just given the state of that team right now, but that's a big number for two teams that play really slow. And I still think you have to respect Dayton somewhat. I know they're not 100% right now, but I don't think Virginia Tech's the type of team, not like a super deep team, that's going to give Dayton a ton of problems. So I think matchup wise, there's no major edge either direction. I think the number's pretty accurate when you price in the injuries, which is kind of a guessing game, Kai. So a big fat shrug and fence ride for me.
Yeah, another game that beginning of the year, the spread's crazy, 7 points, right? But Dayton's injuries have clearly affected them. Malachi Smith, the obvious one, but Kobe Elvis too is on the shelf. That's key for their backcourt depth. He is a 4-year starter.
Elvis on the shelf, Kai.
Elvis on the shelf. Yes. Wow. Unintentional, but very good pun. Flyers have no good wins, but they did almost beat Wisconsin and BYU. I think they can stay within 7. I'm just not really willing to fade Virginia Tech. They've been impressive. They also seem to get up big every single game and then collapse in almost every single game. So I wouldn't be surprised if I see a Dayton backdoor here. I do think they'll struggle to score, though. They'll struggle to defend the arc. So, Jim, I actually lean towards Va Tech on the matchup. but the line's too high. Probably lean towards Dayton on a pure number perspective.
Yeah, when this number was going down, I was hoping it would get to 6. I would have stepped in on the Hokies at 6. I think the revenge angle matters a little bit for some of the guys that were around last year. Padula, Justin Mutz, Hunter Couture. I think they're going to be a little salty about that game. They felt like maybe they gave away at Dayton. And I think Dayton stinks right now. Like I'm not riding with that best effort they had was against Wisconsin, and they ended up not winning. And all of their efforts as a big favorite have been terrible. Even the Lindenwood one, they kind of extended it late. I'm not very impressed with them. I would back Virginia Tech if it hit 6 again. I just, like Kai said, I think they'll struggle to defend the arc. And if you can't defend the 3-point line against Virginia Tech, you can get buried because those guys can shoot the lights out. So hoping it gets down at 6, but not backing it where it's at.
Jim, first half. I like Matty Akers' take. Kyle, you mentioned this too. Virginia Tech blowing leads so much. Yep. So, yeah, I think first half's probably
they
good.
get up big every game, then they kind of collapse. It's weird. They're well coached, so it's not really intuitive.
Yeah. And they should make free throws and not turn it over. It's weird. Mm-hmm. They don't have a lot of athleticism, so if they get pressed, I think they struggle a little bit. All right, let's go to Pitt at Vanderbilt. Matt, you've kind of been the Pitt whisperer lately, backing them in the right spots, getting some money line winners with Road Dog Panthers. Now they're taking on a Vandy team that is starting to feature my boy Liam Robbins even more now. Yeah. I've got some stats on him when it comes back around the horn to me. But are you going with Road Dog Panthers outright again here?
I wanted 4, missed it. Still waiting for it. Might take 3. If it sits at 3, I might just take money line. I see Ryan and in the chat suggesting Pitt money line is a potential play. I think that's the right play. I do. I know John Hughley's been kind of a shell of himself. You look at his stat line the last 2 games, he's basically been a non-factor. But again, I think just his presence up front is useful in this matchup against Liam Robbins, who, as Jim will probably talk about, is kind of the key dominant force now for this Vandy team, who's trying to re-identify themselves. Pitt Kai kind of re-identifying themselves behind Jamarius Burton, like Cummings, really dominant in ball screen. They're getting their guards are kind of driving the bus for this squad. And I kind of like the new rebranded version of this Pitt team. It's been awesome the last 2 games.
Yeah, they've been road warriors, winning outright as a dog against Northwestern, NC State. Pretty impressive. And Vandy's beatable, right? They're not incompetent, but they're beatable. These 2 teams, I think, are pretty comparable in ability. I sort of agree with this spread right now. The key for Vanderbilt is Jordan Wright. He's been dealing with back spasms. We don't know if he's in or out of the lineup tonight. If he's out, I definitely lean towards Pitt here. If he's in, I think it's more of a toss-up. Can see Vanderbilt winning this game. So I need to know his status, Jim, before I hop in.
Yeah, I think that's super important. And then, like I said, Robbins has been a monster for them. He's been KenPom game MVP 2 of the last 3, and their on-off numbers with him on, they're plus 19 per 100 when he plays. They're negative 5 per 100 when he sits. So riddle me this, why he was sitting a bunch early in the season.
Yeah,
Mr. Stackhouse, I get your best big man on the floor, let him dominate a little bit. Almost got backed into it when Quentin Malora-Brown had like the illness issues. And it's like, oh, wow, look at Robbins go. Matt, the surprising thing is that gulf between on-off is all offensive for them. The defense is like
that is weird,
whether Robbins plays or not. But they have like an actual interior scorer they can play through. He gives a little bit of pick and pop, and he's a good roller to play with their guards. So, yeah, between making sure he's starting, because who knows what Stackhouse does, and then checking if Wright's in the lineup, this is another kind of have to wait and see at this point. Mm-hmm. All right, let's go chat mob. Matthew, you are my czar, my chat shepherd, taking care of our flock in there. What do you got for us?
Well, Steve Nash, once again, kind enough to join us on today's program, Kai, asking about the Cocaine Brown Bears. Yes. They are playing Rhodey in a pseudo rivalry game. It's a big rivalry game. I don't know how it's not massive.
Not according to Rhode Island.
Okay. Ooh, like Big Brother doesn't view it as okay, whatever. Yeah. I don't have a take on this game. Injuries on both sides. Thoughts?
Yeah, I've a guy I talked to who's a big Rhode Island guy. He says they do not consider this a rivalry, despite being in state.
Good to know.
They do play each other basically every year. I lean towards Brown. I was kind of debating whether to take them at 7. Got that down pretty quickly. So no play right now, but I lean towards Brown. You have to know if Owusu Anane, I'm sure I screwed up that pronunciation, is in for Brown, though. If he's out, it's probably Rhode Island's game. If he's in, I think they can hang around.
I
think
Rhode Island laying points. Ugh, that team is
gross. I'm with you on that one, Jim. Ryan N asking about New Mexico State Santa Clara. I cannot stay farther away from a game this year. There's not one game I'm looking to just be like pass on the slate. Jim, do you have more details on the context? I mean, everyone knows, I think, at this point.
The off-court stuff with New Mexico State, if you want to read about it, you can get into the details there. There's been a ton of reports. It's really bad. They have like one of the guys that was involved is not traveling. Obviously, Mike Peake is not with the team. He suffered a gunshot wound and had a self-defense killing. It's really weird with like the coach hiding the gun stuff. Like Matt said, no thank you. My number in a total vacuum with nothing off the court would have said bet the Aggies, but I'm not going to do it here. No thank you.
The line's really high. That's all I'll add. Kai, I think you agree with that, don't you?
Yeah, I took New Mexico State.
I love it. Kai doesn't care. It's all nonsense.
It's
all
a weird program. I don't even know if it affects them. The line
it could be like a circle the wagons kind of thing. Like everybody's coming at us. Let's go out and just play basketball.
I love our king. I love Jordan Macheski tweeting during the last exhibition game. They're just like the handle, like the stuff's coming out, reports flying, and they're just like, "Wow, we're dominating this D3 team." Xavier Pinson, steal, dunk, 55.
Tweet through it, baby. Tweet through it.
Yeah, it's good stuff. Jay Elderman. Jay Elderman. It's not.
I think it's
okay.
Letterman,
Anyway,
isn't
it? It's a Letterman. Oh, I can't read. Yeah, Letterman, Mr. Letterman, David Letterman, another one of our many celebrities who watches this show. Arizona State -5 on the road. I disagree. Pony Express, Jim. Let's dust off the cobwebs of our old Big Mo Pony Express. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I said to myself, I will not take less than 6. I was able to get 6, so 5 is really dicey for me. But man, it is a kind of a fat and happy Bobby Hurley team feeling itself a little bit after some solid efforts in conference. I could see a letdown effort against a team that's been kind of bad, our Ponies.
Hi, a 3-fer from Joey Steffen. Getting a little bit greedy here, asking 3 questions in one message, but we'll oblige. Indiana State, Southern Illinois, Evansville, Campbell, Ball State, Eastern Illinois. 3 ugly games. On the rundown, Indiana State's on the rundown. We'll get to that one. Other
Ball
2
State is in best bets, so nix that one.
Hi, Evansville, Campbell, gross is my only add to that one.
Gross, and you can't bet Campbell unless you know Jesus Carrolero's status. And you probably don't, so I'd stay away.
Yeah, Evansville's
if you
got
do,
their
you're
own
on the staff
issues too. Like it's both these teams are. You're kind of guessing, and I guess maybe if they're both shorthanded, they're equals again. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I lean Campbell. Bo Chance just transferred from Evansville. They're more of a mess, so lean Campbell. Campbell's pretty good.
Jim, the Paris best bet: Navy, West Virginia over. I know you're an Undertaker. Thoughts on endorsing this one?
No real total take here. I did lean the sea troops, Matt, the ocean troops, the water troops. I think they're going to be competitive as an underdog this year. They're just very well disciplined, but Huggy Bear is definitely getting after his team. It's not quite to the levels of Frank Martin, Kai, where he's like publicly just lashing them despite playing kind of well.
Hilarious.
But I kind of trust the middies to hang around a little bit here under Eddie DeChellis.
Hi, Will Jones, our old high school basketball teammate. Didn't know he's a fan of the show either. But
really
deep cut joke that only me and Kyle would get. Anyway, Providence first half. He's asking about against who are they playing? Manhattan. I'm fading Providence today. I want to fade Providence. Manhattan's been solid. Why are we all fading Manhattan? They're fine.
Yeah, I think the spread's nuts. Full game, 19.5. That's crazy to me. So I'm leaning towards Manhattan. Probably going to add it, but it keeps going up. I don't know. If it's 20, I'm definitely in for the Jaspers.
Not on the outline, so I don't have the Cooley stats in front of me, but he's really bad as a big favorite. They just don't lay points.
Providence is a big favorite. Thank you, Jim. I was going to add Notre Dame to that pool this year of teams that lay double-digit points. Like, no, thank you. Purdue is on the outline, correct? Or is it not? A lot of questions about Purdue. I thought it was on the outline. It's not on the outline. Well, Purdue's playing Hofstra. Jim, I'll go to you for this one. Hofstra's had a week off, but we think there's some injury risks for the Pride. Mr. Dubar didn't play much last game.
Yeah, the market seems to think so too. Purdue's been hammered up to 22, despite Mason Gillis being out. I think it is a lot to do with Darlin Stone Dubar, key piece for Hofstra. Only 3 minutes last game. That kind of negates some of their pick and pop, pick and roll, continuous type of stuff, action that they do with Estrada handling the ball. They can move Edey around, but they also will not stop Edey. Edey can score 40 in this game if he wants to.
This is a Zach Edey 30 and 20 game again. So maybe they make enough shots to stay inside the number, but I'm not looking to bet the Pride. Kai, Maddie B asking about Robert Morris for Central Michigan. Major roster question marks on the Central Michigan side of the coin. Yep. If I knew with certainty that Boopy Miller and others were out, I'd be looking to back Bobby Moe. But what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm a Bobby Moe guy. I took him at a better number right now. If Boopy Miller's out for Central Michigan, it's a home run play, in my opinion, for Robert Morris, who has looked very good last couple of games now with everyone back in the lineup.
Yeah, impressive team so far.
Jim, Matty B also asked about Ewash versus Cal. Auto fade Cal. Why not? I guess. Sure.
Yeah,
yes.
I'm not going to stop you. I took it at 4.5. I'd probably be okay with it down to 3. Yeah.
Yeah. Cal's bad. Counter Platt, Sienna +6, Kai, in the same skip. Knicks. I like spoiling best bets, but I won't do it today.
Holster it.
Cornell +15 was his other question. I kind of agreed with this. I know it's sort of a tough spot for the Big Red playing Miami, but they've been pretty impressive. I don't know. Jim, Kai, thoughts?
Over.
I like a lot of points.
Ton of points here. I think both teams want to. Miami's been dying to play somebody that will play fast with them, and finally they have like the most willing dance partner. I think there's going to be up and down here.
Ray Reyes, am I an absolute joke for taking Hampton +2? Ray, I gave it a good hard look, and I said I've had enough of the Pirates' life. I've had enough of it. I'm over it. So no, I did not take it. I think you have the right side, but I wish you luck because you will need it with that team. Let's get a couple more here. Harry R on the fly. No pun intended. Joke back to Michael Fly, the former coach of Florida Gulf Coast, who FAU is playing today. I finally got there, Jim. 2 awesome teams. Like, this is an awesome game.
Walk, Matthew.
Thank you. Thank you for joining me with it.
Yeah.
But this is a great game. I want to watch it. I think the number's a little bit high. Florida Atlantic's awesome. Florida Gulf Coast is slightly less awesome, but still awesome. Thoughts?
It's been bet down big time. People are buying in on Dunk City here. Florida Atlantic might get Elijah Martin back. He's game time decision. They got Nelly Davis back last time. They have just been a blunt force.
They don't need them. They're already awesome as is.
Smash team.
They're awesome.
I lean towards Florida Atlantic. I think that's like a current form. Just ride the wave, even though Gulf Coast is really solid too.
Patty Taylor, our king, Fresno, Northridge. You can better believe that'll be in the best bet section, courtesy of yours truly. You can probably extrapolate who I'll be on there. 2 more. Alaji Max to Paul versus St. John's. Big East tilt. That's on the outline in the metric. Panda for the last month. The buzzer. Kai VCU versus Jacksonville. Thoughts? Ugly game. Injuries on both sides.
Line's too low. I wanted to back Jacksonville. It's too low.
All right. Yeah, that's mine no,'almost pointed to VCU, and I was like, no, it's not going to do it.
I passed on VCU.
The VCU Temple game was troubling. I really thought VCU would win that, but maybe Temple's just starting to trend up right now. Back to outline. I'll try and round up some more. I know I missed a bunch. Sorry, mobsters.
All right. This was part of, I believe, is Joey's threesome of questions. Indiana State at Southern Illinois. Huge battle in the Missouri Valley. Potentially 2 top 3 teams here. They're going to be competing with Drake all season, I think. Kai, we got Southern Illinois laying 4 at home here. Big time clash in styles. Indiana State wants to get up and down, wants to run. Salukis want to make it a half-court game, bog it down. What do you think wins out here?
Yeah, Indiana State dealing with some injuries. It doesn't matter. Whenever you see injuries for this team, doesn't matter. They're so deep and they can make up for it. So no worries there. But the Valley, Matt, I'm really looking at this angle. Their home courts, they're really strong. Among the strongest edges in the country year in, year out. Seems a bit weird because of the geography, but they're just tough places to play. I think the spread's pretty spot on. SIU has a top 50 defense right now. They're very good on that end. Now, it's going to be tough to shut down Indiana State's offense. Transition has not been great for Southern Illinois this year, but they haven't played a whole lot of teams that have ran yet. So jury's still out on that one. I'm not sure Indiana State's defense can stop Domask or Lance Jones. It's kind of a toss-up for me, Matt, here.
Yeah, numbers right on. Really wanted to back Indiana State, but Southern Illinois is a team I've been against a couple times, been losers. I've watched them. I think I watched their UNLV game at that weird gym in Southern California. They defend really, really well. The question is offense with them. I don't know. I think I just really wanted to respect, as Kai mentioned, the home court of SIUC and the defense I've witnessed the Carbondales play so far. So I did not take ISU Blue despite my strong temptations to do so.
Yeah, I'm tempted to do so too. I think Southern Illinois, as strong as they are on defense, is due a little bit of regression on that end. No one's making free throws. No one's making threes. That's kind of propping up the numbers a little bit. I think that defense is more top 75 than it is top 50. So maybe it starts to hit them a little bit this game. Indiana State can really shoot, but the one guy that is probably out, Cooper Neese, is like arguably their best shooter. So maybe this isn't the game where their aggression comes. I'm with these guys. It's priced pretty correctly. I'm going to stay away from that one. All right, let's go out east, the Big East. St. John's hosting DePaul, Chicago's Big East team, playing possessed out in the Big Apple. Matthew, DePaul facing their old teammate David Jones here. I'm sure he's going to be pretty motivated to go off. I know you love that angle. I also have questions about how DePaul stops St. John's at the rim without Ane, without Ngenda. This could be a little bit of a layup line parade.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, market agrees, but from 8 to 9, I think that number is pretty accurate, to be honest. Better spot for St. John's, maybe, off the Iowa State loss, and DePaul off 2 straight OT wins. I just don't trust this DePaul team without their front court intact. So I'm leaning Johnny's pretty heavily, but Kai, the number feels a little bit high for a conference game.
Yeah, it does feel high. Yeah, I kind of forgot it's conference, the Big East.
I know. You got to reorient yourself.
St. John's continues to be a tough team to bet or fade because they can blow out anybody and they can lose to anybody. So it's kind of you're taking a big risk with your money when you bet them, even more so than the normal risk. Johnny's injuries, Wusu, actually, these both just came through the wire here. Wusu and Stanley, they both missed last game. They are probable in game time decisions tonight, so not a whole lot of help there. But who knows if they actually matter against DePaul, because as Jim said, David Jones and Joel Soriano are going to kill DePaul at the rim on the glass. Johnny's are top 30 in offensive rebounding rate. DePaul's bottom 40 in the country. It's going to happen. Gibson's been really good for DePaul on the ball this year, but I don't totally trust the rest of the DePaul team handling the ball against their pressure. So no play for me. I'm staying away.
Yeah, and Gibson, I still think he's a little more of a shooting guard than he is true point, handle pressure against Posh Alexander and Andre Curbelo. And yeah, I'll reiterate it. St. John's can't shoot at all, but DePaul doesn't force teams to shoot. They kind of more run you off the line, and they don't have shot blockers on the back end anymore. That could be a lot of trouble getting to the paint. I'll credit Jordan Majeski here, though. He's St. John's is also pretty careless and takes their foot off the gas. So this could be backdoor final minute. DePaul makes a couple threes and they lose by 6 instead of the 12 they were down by the whole game. So I'm going to sit it out. That tough to trust that one there. Let's go Big Ten. We'll stay conference battles here. Matthew, your Hoosiers hosting Nebraska. Big time injury questions here with your boy, Jalen Hood-Schifino, whether he's in or out. Also dealing with a back issue. Woodson has said he's day to day. And your Huskers have also looked really good lately with that road win at Creighton. Do they continue their road dominance here at Bloomington?
I like Nebraska. It's a low number, but it's not when you look at it from a conference game angle, and it's not when you consider how good Nebraska's played. Derek Walker's worth 20 points apparently, and I guess it makes sense when you
on-off numbers, he's worth 30. I looked that up.
Legit 30? Well, there you go. Boom. So 30 points. So Nebraska should be favored by 13, and thus you have a great price catching 13 points. Boom. Done. Bangs gavel. I do like Nebraska here. I think, Hoiberg has really, in his hot seat, put up or shut up season, really batten down the hatch on defense. And I think Walker is the linchpin of that. And so they actually have a prayer on that end of the floor, and they have some vets on the offensive end kind of can make shots. I mean, Mr. Griesel can make stuff happen. I still like Mr. Bando on the wing there. They have enough for me to score against a vaunted IU defense. I bet they sneak inside a number. I'm not going to bet it, but I think they do sneak inside a number today. Yeah,
they've looked a lot better, and that's a lot because of Hoiberg changing his style. The past 3 years at Nebraska, he's been top 20 in offensive possession length, and this year he's 239th. It's the most efficient offense they've had under him. Seems to be helping their defense as well. They're not tired on every single possession after sprinting the length of the floor. Big Ten home court, though, man. We've talked about it a lot. It's scary. And I like the double-digit conference dog angle. I sort of trust Nebraska, not really, but that home court is tough. Derek Walker has been awesome, like Jim said, for Nebraska. But, man, TJD in IU's front court, that's a tough matchup. Really, really tough matchup for him. I'm not sure. I guess he did just play Kalkbrenner, which is a pretty good matchup, too. But IU's front court is for real. Their defense is so good inside. I have trouble seeing how Nebraska scores efficiently, Jim.
Yeah, they do some invert the floor stuff where they play through Walker at the top of the key that pulled Kalkbrenner away. But Indiana's got Thompson and TJD. Mm-hmm. So there's still always going to be a guy lurking around the rim. Whoever's guarding Breidenbach or Jawan Gary can kind of camp out there probably. I like the way they invert though, because Griesel can post up smaller guards. If you put him against Xavier Johnson in the post or something, I think he can score. The big question is still Hood-Schifino for me, because Xavier Johnson went completely rogue insanity last game without him out there as a secondary creator. Woodson had some quotes that we got to make sure he's not just going off on a tirade, doing the things he shouldn't do. He said that about Johnson, which is the on-off numbers last year for Johnson when there wasn't a secondary ball handler were terrible. And so now that they don't have Hood-Schifino as that supplementary guy, or potentially don't, that makes me nervous. So I'm big leaning towards Nebraska, and I might add it if Hood Schifino is out. I'll be monitoring that very closely. All right, next up on the outline. Last, before we go back to chat mob, Towson headed on the road to Clemson. Kind of a surprising non-conference matchup here after Clemson has been playing ACC and ACC Big Ten Challenge, a couple of really tough games. Kai, they just smoked Wake Forest, but shot quality graded that as a Wake Forest win by like 6, which was a bitter pill for me to swallow as a Demon Deacon backer.
Yeah.
What do you think here? Can Towson hang with now seemingly healthy PJ Hall inside?
The 20-point win, 6-point loss, shot quality is funny to me.
Yeah.
Tiger battle here. Hey, how fun, mascots. Yeah. When I first saw the line at 7.5, it's down to 7 now. I was going to jump on Towson, but Towson hasn't been great playing top tier teams. They haven't played anybody in the top 160 this year. They had that loss to Fairfield. And last year, they lost to Pitt, San Francisco, and Ohio State. Though they did sort of keep each close, they might have covered all 3. Clemson's just a tough place to play, Matt. And we saw them beat Penn State. Jim mentioned they decimated Wake. They're a good team, and PJ Hall is ascending back to his all ACC form, we'll say. Pat Scarry, we know what he does. He attacks the glass. He attacks the foul line. Clemson's relatively strong on the glass, but they do foul. Towson conceded a lot of free throw trips tonight. The line's kind of where I'm split on either side here. I suppose I lean a little towards Towson, but hard to trust against Clemson home court.
Yeah, hit PJ Hall 43 points in 46 minutes last 2 games, both of which he started and had his highest workload of the year. I don't think he'll be 100% like all year, to be honest, but it's something to monitor. He clearly looks like he's pretty effective, and last season he was worth like 7 points or something. So I would lean Clemson, Jim. I don't know if I trust Towson at this point in the season. It's a team that doesn't have a lot of depth. I think they're missing the services of Jason Gibson, who's a pretty key part of that rotation. On top of the fact that we mentioned how they lost, who's their point guard? I'm blanking. Last year. From last year.
Nolan.
Yeah, no, I think if they had Nolan back from last year still and they had Gibson this year, they'd look a lot better, but it's a thin rotation right now.
There's a chance Gibson plays. Reading some of the scary quotes, Pat Scary, not scary, terrifying, Pat Scary quotes. The tea leaves kind of were like a week and a half ago, it was like he wants to play, but we want to make sure he's all the way back. Maybe that means he's all the way back now. I mean, that's 10 days extra rest. He's very important because he adds another shooter, complements the spacing on the floor, opens it up for Cam Holden to slash and kick out to Timberlake and Gibson. So I'm hoping he's back. I liked Towson and took the 7.5 here, as Kai thought about doing. I ended up backing it. I just think they can compete inside. Weirdly, I think they might actually win the battle on the glass, despite how good PJ Hall is. That's kind of a common Pat Scary Towson thing, is they dominate the boards. And Sekou Sila, while undersized, is just a brute. That guy is a monster. D2 transfer there. So I'm leaning Towson at 7. I know it's only a half point away from 7.5, but that was technically my strike price. So it's up to you if you want to take 7. I only wanted the 7.5. All right, Matthew, back to you for Chat Mob section part 2 before we get into best bets.
Let's hit Jules's question about Cleveland State. We talked about that. They're playing at St. Bonaventure, one of these weird spots where you have a team that starts off 2-0 in conference, and they go and play a tough, odd travel non-con game. I don't know. I'm not looking to back Cleveland State here. I thought the line was very high. What is it, 7-8 right now for a St. Bonnie team that doesn't at least figure to play well as a favorite? Thoughts, Kai?
Is that what it is? Wow.
The Bonnies are really good at home. They've been dominating teams at home this year. I wouldn't want to fade them, but Cleveland State's been a lot better than I expected this year.
I agree. Iowa State light.
Kind of like the under a little bit too.
Yeah, I'm with that too, especially if they feature that matchup zone, Bonnet at least. Don play, DONP, whatever. Jim, would you take Denver plus 6.5 against Sacramento? Also asking about the over in this game.
That's really getting up there, 6.5.
It is.
It was much lower. This is a revenge game for Denver this season, like in-season revenge. Sacramento State won at Denver. I believe when you said it's their only loss, right? Pioneers.
The only loss. Denver is 8-1, I believe. Yeah.
Yeah. That's rather impressive. I would probably lean towards Denver at that number, getting almost a touchdown. But this is one of my best bets. I'll reveal it because Matt hates holstering them.
I do.
Under. I'm not. Let me double check the current number. It's been bet way down, like unsurprisingly. But it was 134.5 pre-show.
It is still, I think.
Good. The BetRivers scroll.
It's terrible. No, it's great.
Yeah, it's fantastic. I love them. Thank you so much for making sure I find the game every time. Control F should be a lot easier. 134.5 under for me. That is one of my two best bets. I think the second meeting, and as slow as Sac State wants to play, we'll see kind of a grind out game there.
Yeah, I'm still hosting this section. Kai, Harry R, Detroit, Tulsa.
Yes.
Detroit Mercy. Just too many injury roster weirdness right now. Just a team I'm basically putting on ice until conference play.
Yes.
Jaden Stone and AJ Oliver should probably play today. Jaden Stone's really important. AJ Oliver's less important now that Gerald Liddell is back for Detroit. I do lean towards Detroit, but the number feels about right.
Wasn't Phillips out last game too?
Phillips
Detroit needs they need
yes.
Phillips and Liddell. They have no hope inside without those two. I don't know why Parks doesn't play more.
Liddell plays.
I'm pretty hard with you, Matt, where I think they just kind of they're not worried about a road game at Tulsa in early December.
Right.
They're kind of just going to play.
Similar to the Cleveland State angle, perhaps same conference, going playing this weird non-con spot, sandwich between conference start and actual conference start in January. Anyway, next game, another weird game on the schedule. Jim, Matty Akers, Hawaii, my Bows, coming to your old neck of the woods, playing UNLV, who's been my squad all year, by the way. I kind of like the Rebs, but as a favorite, I stayed away.
Yeah, I like the Rebs too. I know it's not technically at Thomas and Mack. It's down in Henderson at the Dollar Loan Center, but that's like 15, 20 minutes from where UNLV is. Maybe there's not the familiar with the baskets, but that's brutal travel for Hawaii. Going to Vegas, those kids are going nuts. I don't believe that, but I do lean the Rebels. I think they're really, they were undervalued to start the year. I think they might still be a tad now, even though Cottrell is still out. I still like the Rebs.
And hey, tough travel for UNLV. Traffic, Jim, you used to be part of that.
Get down there early.
Traffic jokes. Kai, Boston versus Notre Dame. I talked about it at the onset of the show. Notre Dame, one of those teams I'm looking to fade, laying double digits. Our King Russ asking about BU. Thoughts?
I don't trust BU because I've been on them several times. And
I know. Should be better.
Really hard team to trust, man. Incredibly hard team to trust. So
should be better.
This could easily be a blowout.
3 horrific games in their MTE.
Yeah. I don't think they're that talented this year. Staying away.
Jim, Mr. Abramowitz, Ryan asking about 2 Ryder Stonehill and Nichols versus Texas Tech. I have zero opinion on Ryder Stonehill other than I think the line's probably a little too low. And Nichols, Texas Tech. I don't like Texas Tech that much. So
yeah, I wanted to back Stonehill because they're healthier now. They got a couple guys that had missed like a game or two. I think Josh Mack and then Sims, the stud lefty. They got those guys back healthy. But then the number was too low for me to take Stonehill. And then Nichols also leaned their way, but I fear home Texas Tech. That team just kind of crockpots teams in that environment. So I stayed away.
Hi, Matt B. asking about Western Carolina versus Davidson. 15.5 felt like a big number, but then I looked at Western Carolina's recent results, like kind of been horrible.
They've been terrible.
I don't understand
one of the worst
it.
teams in the country. Bad. 15.5 is huge. It's huge. I lean towards Western Carolina on the number.
Yeah. This is the in-state. Hopefully this is a game they get up for, but I mean, I guess their efforts for Asheville weren't that great. Also in-state. Ugh.
Yeah, talent pound for pound, like the gap isn't that big between these two teams. Like it just isn't. But one's a strong program with it's a cohesive unit, and the other looks like a rec team right now, I suppose. That's all I have. Did I miss any that came in late? Oh, Northern Kentucky, Washington State, the Wazoos, as I've once called them, from Ryan. And I was leaning that way. Washington State smacked Detroit in a weird spot earlier this year. Another example of a Horizon team playing a non-conference game after conference game.
Like weird travel.
Weird travel, right? Yeah, going like a Pac Northwest. I don't get it either. But Washington State without Jay Mullins is an auto stay away for me. So no action all that sudden.
Yeah, they lost to that Utah game. It was supposed to be a 22-point shot quality one. Apparently they missed a ton of threes. I don't know. I'm not sure I buy it when they were missing their best shooter.
Yeah, he certainly matters. Ray Reyes at the Horn, Old Dominion versus Bill and Mary, my tribe. I like the tribe, and I back them at a better number. I'm sorry, I'm really sharp. Plus 10, it's down to 9. Kai, would you endorse it at the current price?
No, I would not. But
I wouldn't either. Old Dominion's good, well coached, and they just got Jason Wade back. By the way,
really close schools. They're very little travel.
Yeah, someone mentioned letdown because they just beat Richmond. William and Mary did. Yeah, maybe it's still a rival, like local-ish. So.
I lied one more because we have to talk about Eastern Michigan. What a joke that team is. Illinois State, Eastern Michigan from Cody K at the buzzer again. I can't underscore how horrid and how non-existent Eastern Michigan's defense was against Florida Atlantic. And I know Florida Atlantic's awesome, but like just zero pride. Down 30 and Florida Atlantic's going to 100, trying to run it up, and Eastern Michigan had no interest in stopping them. Like really, really tough stuff.
This is the direction the two teams are going in. Illinois State playing a lot better, starting to look pretty solid. Like maybe we hoped they could preseason. And I still like the roster. And Eastern Michigan, just Garbaggio. Why do they care about this game? I think they'll just get some shots up and not play defense again.
Yeah, well, that's what they do every game. So if they do that to the nth degree in this one, look out. Maybe I'll bet the over there. I should start betting Eastern Michigan overs. All right, that's all we got. Chat Mob round 2 concludes. Kai, best bet.
Best bet is Siena +6 against Georgetown. We're fading Georgetown again. They've lost to American. They've lost South Carolina at home. They needed overtime to beat Penn State. They aren't well coached, and they blow leads late. That's why I like Siena, who has wins over Florida State and Seton Hall. They have a star, McCollum, at point guard. Keeps them in games. They have a stud big in Jackson Stormo to compete in the paint. They're much better coached. It seems short. I would never lay this if Patrick Ewing was not on the side, or take this rather if Patrick Ewing was not on the sidelines at Georgetown, but he is. So we're going Siena +6.
My best bet. I'm shocked this line has not come down. But I guess Northridge has been faded a few times. Spoiler, that's my best bet. Cal State, Northridge, the Matadors, the Fighting Trent Johnsons. And that's what they do, Jim. They fight. Do they execute well on offense? Not really. Do they make free throws and make shots? Nope. No. But they grind it out and they muck it up. And against Fresno State shouldn't beat Mississippi Valley State by 14 points, let alone this fairly competent team. I thought the line was insane. But who knows? Maybe Fresno got better last game with the reinsertion of Isaiah Hill. I'm sure I'll find out tonight, but until that time, I will be backing the Fighting Matadors.
Yeah, Fresno's played a gauntlet, actually. They've played no one worse than 119th in Ken Palm outside of a non-D1, and winning at Irvine by 14 was like, whoa, okay, hello. But Matt, I've been on CSUN like all season. Would definitely lean their way again. My best bet, to reiterate, the first one was Denver, Sacramento State under 134.5. The other one, sticking with an under, Ball State and Eastern Illinois. I think these are both repeat appearers in my under best bets. I just think Mike Lewis, the coach for Ball State, has been kind of slow down off the Cronin tree, played for Bobby Knight, half-court motion kind of guy. Now they're playing against Eastern Illinois, who also wants to execute full half-court motion with Marty Simmons. I think this kind of like builds on itself, slow, half-court grind fest. I look back at the EIU Illinois State game that was 62 possessions, had 103 points. I'm hoping for something gruesome like that tonight between these two. So under 137 there for Eastern Illinois and Ball State. That wraps it up. That's all our best bets. That's all our chat mob. Thank you everybody for tuning in. We are back with the show tomorrow. Super limited slate. So I think maybe we'll chat mob a little bit of early takes on Friday games if these two fellows are okay with it. There's only like 15 games combined between the 2 days. But we'll be back. We'll talk through the big games of the day, have a couple best bets, and then look forward to Saturday. So enjoy your Wednesdays. We'll see you tomorrow.